Hello and welcome! Another VOD review we have coming up for you right now. We got the Shanghai Dragons versus the Chengdu Hunters, and this is the grand finals. We're going to make our way backwards. We're not going to really watch too many games from the finals, as I usually don't. We're probably going to watch this match, and then we'll probably watch the Atlanta versus Dallas match as well. The knockout one in the lower bracket. So that's probably going to be what we're going to be reviewing. I know there are better games. The other Chengdu versus Dragons game was better and that kind of stuff, but I don't think it's as relevant. So I would rather just watch this game because this is the one where Dragons won. So that's why we're doing these ones. I hope you guys don't mind. And yeah, let's just get into it. For the most part, we know what to expect. This is a Dragons versus the Hunters. For the most part, they do play like Wrecking Ball, but there's actually a surprising amount of Winston being played on Temple of Anubis and a couple of the other maps. So we'll break those down as it happens. But moral of the Summer Showdown playoffs was the Dragons are just very, very dominant. They are just built different, moral of the story. But as we talked about in our VOD reviews, the East are just better. I think the Wrecking Ball meta was stronger than what the West were trying to do, and the West struggled to adapt. Atlanta Reign and Dallas Fuel neither being able to find solutions to what the Hunters and the Dragons were doing. I think Dallas Fuel fell to the Hunters twice in a row, and it wasn't particularly close. For the most part, the Hunters just were better. Leave had an incredible performance and tournament. Monk was also very good. Gaga showing why he's good, but also notably Late Young. I was very harsh onto Elsa and Late Young coming into this season for the Hunters. I was very upset they didn't pick up new off tanks because neither one of them had impressed me. But then Elsa really impressed me and then retired. I was like, oh man, and now they're gonna have to pick up Late Young, who also isn't that good. But Late Young was actually quite good. Very heavily favored the Xayah with a lot of their compositions, so that different element, personal preference, all that kind of stuff. But even his diva was quite nice. So I was pretty happy with it. So big props to Late Young for stepping up. And the Dragons, everyone is just good on the Dragons, and that's what's making them so dominant. They are so flexible, they're so strong on everything, and that's why they're the best. And let's get into it. It was interesting that they played Nisha on this map. It doesn't really make sense to me. Like, Nisha didn't play the entire weekend except for the grand finals. So I don't know, maybe it was an Ilios thing they always had planned. He's a Mercy God, yeah, but so is Yveltal. Like, Yveltal's Mercy is also very, very good. So I don't know. It didn't really make much sense to me, but here we are. Let's get into it. The most important thing that we see is we're going to see the Pharah v Pharah, I think, at the start of this. This was this series, right? Yeah, here it is. Nisha wasn't... Yeah, I'm not saying Nisha's bad by any means. I think they're both great main supports. It was just weird that they don't play him the entire weekend and then the last second they do. Fleta versus Jinmu, the heroes we need. Oh! Oh! Fleta just absolutely wreaking havoc on that Pharah. I feel like that was a mistake by Fleta going that aggressive. Unless he just hits all the shots. Wow, Izzyaki kills Jinmu as well. How is Izzyaki... Where is Izzyaki? Izzyaki kills Jinmu from here? Well, this is just disrespectful. Oh, he actually hit a heal there as well. Wow. Izyaki's just across the map. Well, Jinmu just got Pharah diffed right there, but also kind of like Ana diffed at the same time. I don't really know. Why Ana's here instead of Zen? I think it's because Zen is hard to stay alive on this map, just because you have to expose yourself so heavily, and Ana can do exactly what you just saw Izzyaki do. Shoot from long range. Play far back and shoot from long range. There's a lot of open air when you're playing with a Pharah that you're like, having the Ana's nicer. Usually you don't play Ana if you, like, usually if you don't have a Pharah, you play Zen. Right? Because you also have a Brig to protect you when you're on the Zen. But if you're playing Pharah Mercy, then as a Zen, you have no pocketing. So for the most part, you play the Ana because Ana's more self-sustainable as well. So damage boosted Nano. Oh! Damage boosted Nano, if you aren't aware, will one-shot a 200 HP target. on the Pharah, so. Oh, baby. Big sleep by Monk. Look at the dragons trying to come help protect that. Void must have been pretty close to eating that. Faye gets hacked. Faye, you good? Is he trying to hide his head hitbox? Okay. Leave him alone. He's just hiding in a corner. Leave him alone. So we get mines on the point. I'm actually going to watch individual perspectives here, I think, because I think it's very hard to see what's going on from an overhead at times. Oh, good stick by Lip on the Monk. And it's important to note that the dragons have the point cap here. Oh, that's a problem for Flatter. Oh, Lee hacks Flatter and he falls to his death. Lee J-Gun falls to his death because of that as well. And Izzyaki kills Jinmu again. Izzyaki is the counter to the Pharah right now. Oh, he dead. They're still stalling though. They have Void on the point who's just vibing. They lost the cap. They should probably give it up at this point. Oh, they res Void to just die again. Well, that's kind of tragic for Void. If you're the dragons, I think you want to reset this fight. Oh, Lips kills Gaga though. Okay, wow. How did dragons get the cap? What the fuck is going on? How does nobody touch? I guess the Late Young's not in mech. Gaga gets pulse bombed. They don't really have anyone to touch. Leave's not there. Interesting. I leave TP's in the high ground. EMP's the combo. I don't really like that EMP. Oh, okay, never mind. It's fine if Jinmu murders Lee J-Gun, but I was gonna say there wasn't much follow-up coming, but follow-up does end up happening. Flatter disengages to the high ground, which is smart, knowing he doesn't have a mercy. We are the dragons, we don't reset. Alright, they're gonna get to 99, so this has actually been very worth it for the dragons. So they only need one team fight now to turn to win the round. Should have waited until they're off map, the Lip special. Nah. It's kind of hard. Not many Pharahs go off the side for that reason. They got that 2019 shock mentality, and I think that is a great comparison. I think calling the current Shanghai Dragons the like 2020 shock, where it's like it just feels like they get away with so much because all their players are so talented that they work so well in unison that they can win anything. They can turn fights that shouldn't be winnable and all that kind of stuff. Legs meta for Countdown Cup. Let's see it. Oh my god. Smurfette, thank you for the 100 bits. Oh wow. He's lucky that... Wait. Did Leave not have a translocator? What's going on there? Jinmu barrages on the point. Lip dies. Oh, that's the nano. Good play by Hunters. It seems to be like just nano the Pharah trying to get one-shots. This is the grand finals.
I will not waste this opportunity.
What becomes the most possible interesting meta? We were talking about it a little before. I think anywhere, I would love to see a Wrecking Ball meta, even in the West, play Wrecking Ball. Obviously, it's bad for the West, but I think it'd be really interesting to see the West move towards Wrecking Ball. I hope Wrecking Ball doesn't get banned, is my moral of the story. I feel like that would feel so cheap to the East. I would rather see a Wrecking Ball meta and see how good the West can get at it. Because I don't think, it's not like the West can't play these compositions, right? I just don't think they practice them. Like, I think we actually do have some good Wrecking Ball players. We have good Choice, Sombra, Pharah players. We do. It's just no one was practicing it or playing it. So I think that'd be really cool. For Countdown Cup. Ban Diva? No, don't ban Diva. Ban Diva would create a very... If you ban Diva, I think it would create the most skewed meta you could get. Like, I think you could potentially just see a ton of Pharah. And you can see the weakness of playing these Pharah comps, that as soon as you lose control of the map, it gets really hard to open up, right? Like, the Dragons have just been trying to... Like, they're getting picks, but they just... Like, the hunters can play so aggressively with their players, but if they get picked, like, it's hard for them to close onto the point. Like, every time they get picks, they try and close onto the point, and they get EMP'd or hacked, and then, like, the res comes through, and then Fate dies. Like, that is why, like, this point is, like, such a weird one. Oh, it's rigged if they ban Wrecking Ball? It's a percentage chance. I can tell you, as someone who is on the inside, there is no shenanigans going on. I know the stats people who would never let such a thing happen. That's what they all say, Kava. As I said, they could easily lie to me and just not tell me things, but as someone who picked the hero pools for last year, and when we had the cats, like, that wasn't, like, manipulated there. I've never seen any manipulation. Maybe that doesn't help you sleep at night, because maybe they don't trust me with anything, deservedly so. But I've never seen any foul play, so you guys can take my word for it.
1. Round 2. Capture the objective.
So we're gonna see neither team can play Pharah. This just isn't a very good Pharah round. Like, Pharah, the skyboxes are actually surprisingly low, but there's also such long sightlines that it's very hard to play. So we're gonna see the Hunters play the the Ashe Sombra, while Dragon's gonna play the Tracer Sombra. And Leave do be doing a bit of fucking on this round, so we're gonna watch him from his perspective. Treble Gaming, thank you for 35 months. Let's get an overview for the start. So Shanghai gets a lot of positioning. How does Monk kill Izayaki? I think Monk did a really good job. Monk impressed me a lot this season. In this series. Oh, that was a nasty right click. And then onto the Tracer. Monk diff. Yeah, I'd be down for a Sim ban as well. I don't really like watching Sim. Monk Rookie of the Year conversation, if he keeps it up? Absolutely. If he keeps it up, for sure. I think Gaga is less so of a Rookie of the Year. He had a great start of the season, but I feel like I haven't been as impressed with him as of late. Will there be repeated bans? No. As far as I was told, there will not be repeated bans. So Tracer Sombra, Reinhardt, and Zenyatta cannot be banned. Oh! Alright, so they do end up getting an effective dive. I was about to say, I feel like the Dragons aren't playing fast enough, right, against an Ashe. Like, they need to go faster. If you're going to have a Tracer instead of an Ashe, you need to go faster with that Tracer. So they do end up getting the pick, but not before Leave gets the kill. Alright, not bad. So Jimmy has the EMP. Let's see what he does with this. He's trying to... Jimbo's camping this pack right now, right? He really wants to get this hack onto the pack. Because having this pack hack is so valuable, and then he ends up getting it.
Feeling much better. I might need this later. I need healing.
So look at how scared the Dragons are playing against this EMP. So Fate's going to go alone. Oh, good EMP, but Izayaki does get the Transcendence. But I think what this has done effectively is that you trade the trans for the EMP, which isn't the worst thing in the world, as long as he doesn't die. The issue that I think they're going to have is Fate is deep. So they don't actually have an effective dive of their own. How does Monk get his Transcendence Force, though? Oh, he gets stuck. Great play by Fleta. Gets the stick. So now they're in an advantage, right? Lip has the EMP. Lip's EMP needs to be big. He is out of cycle though right now. So he's gonna come very late to this team fight. So he's gonna EMP the tank lines. The rally is out though. So they're probably gonna get Gaga on this one, but the backline should be safe. Oh, Fate goes down as well. As I said, he was in a bit of trouble. Rally's pretty good though. Oh, wow. Lee Jae-gon had a... Let's actually look at this from Lee Jae-gon's perspective. Lee Jae-gon has full rally pretty much here. Goes aggressive. 300 health. 100 of that is armor. He gets bashed and murdered in that time. of that bash. So that's great coordination by Hunters. And Johnny did a great job of talking about this in a Talustration as well. Of just like how good Hunters communication and Discord and target focus is. Whoever gets Discord is usually just gets absolutely murdered. So they're definitely doing a good job of communicating with one another. Monk gets killed by Fleta. But Gaga's kind of be fucking. Leon kind of feeds his ult there. I actually remember this. Lee J Gon kind of fucks up. Chaos style, by the way, for Hunters, but the meme, Borpa spin. I actually remember, I was reading something recently, someone was upset that we were analyzing the style and the gameplay from the East as chaotic, but it is chaotic. Like, that is like literally the definition of the Wrecking Ball style is chaos. Because it creates this like very like weird dive style, but yeah. Lee J Gon goes in and gets booped at the last second. So it's just such a unique way of playing the game that creates like, it makes it so that there's method to the madness, and the chaos it's controlled chaos from Hunters and Dragons, and they know what they're doing and they are working together, but it's very chaotic in terms of you're not really moving as a unit. It's a very individualistic, all over the place plays. And that is why a lot of people don't like looking at this meta and like watching this style, because it's very hard to watch. It's very hard to watch it from like player perspective, or watch the kill feed and understand who's winning or where the advantages are being played out in. So it's organized chaos. Yeah, exactly right. EMP from Jinmu gets his Yaki. He does not get the Transcendence off this time, and that's just like a big play by Jinmu. Fleta's quietly having a very good game as well. The EMP by Lip doesn't have the follow-up, and that should be it for the Chengdu Hunters. I found this one of the best metas to watch. It is entertaining, and you do have to enjoy it for its surface value of like, there's a lot of interesting and fun things happening. There's great pulse bombs, great EMPs, great dives, and all that kind of stuff. So I actually really enjoy it. It can be difficult to watch though at some points.
Ready for battle.
I'm curious how Hunters fall twice in front of Dragons. Yeah, we'll break it down, but I honestly just think the Dragons are a better team across the I think that the Hunters against the Dragons can match up playing the Wrecking Ball Zen comps, like, and we just saw it right there. I actually think Dragons would probably win in the grand scheme of things across a lot of maps, right? I think Dragons think, but I think there's a chance that Hunters can win. They just won the first map. I think if they just mirrored the same comps, Hunters had a chance. But I think the Dragons recognize this and were like, if we just don't play the mirror and we play things that we know can play to our strengths, we can play map specific things, we can play things that we know counters the style that the Hunters want to play, that will give them an advantage, because the Dragons are way more versatile than the Hunters. Hunters don't have a lot of flexibility, in my opinion, in terms of styles that they can play. I think as soon as you get them onto like Reapers or like, you know, leave hit scan, like, as much as it's good, I don't think they play anywhere near as well in these styles, and I think that's where we're gonna see these differences.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
You're saying Dragons will win instead of Shock? I don't see what the hell is happening. I don't. Are they crouching? Oh, they're all crouching. I thought my game was breaking, but they're just crouch walking. I don't see a team beating the Shanghai Dragons right now. And I know a lot of you is going to say Dallas Fuel. I only think the Dallas Fuel can beat the Shanghai Dragons in the playoffs now if the meta suits them. I think if they can get a meta that's very good for them, they can win. Other than that, I think the Dragons are just better. They're just too good.
Defend objective A.
So in here, we're going to see the flexibility of the Dragons. They're willing to play the Orisa, Ashe, and the Echo right here. They're going to play the Mercy. And they've done this historically in the past. They did this the last time these two teams played, like the day before in the upper bracket finals, and the Hunters adapted. Last time, I think the Hunters tried to play like, wait, was it the Hunters? Maybe it was against Atlanta, where Atlanta just didn't deal with the Ashe Echo, but I think the Dragons do a really good job of, or well, the Hunters do a good job. I like the Genji Sombra. I think the Genji Sombra is a really good change, because it makes it really hard for the Dragons to protect the Ashe, the Echo, and the Ana at the same time with Lee Jae-gon and that Mercy, and they can get a really fast, effective dive. Yeah, Glad's also played this as well. They played the Ashe Echo because it puts a lot of damage and threats. And Atlanta tried to play the Brawl, right? And the Brawl does not work against this comp. There's just too much damage from the Ashe and the Echo. The Ana plays for free too much on the high ground. So I think it's just really good style. But I think the Hunters counter it with this Genji, right? And you see here, well, let's watch the dive again. It's everything on the Hunters comp can dive quite effectively, and they don't need as much position. They just need to find somebody and go. So here they get the hack on the Fleta, and their call is to go. Leave dashes, Gaga goes in, and they get the isolate. Great boot by Gaga on the Lee Jae-gon going for that res. And that should just be it. Because Leave does that to Void, but if Void is killing Leave, then he's also not protecting his Ashe and his Rissa, as we just saw there. And that should be a good first fight for Hunters. There is a chance that Dragon's comp could beat this Hunters comp if they started getting ult cycles. If they started getting their Valks, they started getting their Nanos, and they managed to get the crossfires effectively, and then the Hunters fucked up the Nano Blades or the EMPs, it could be bad for the Hunters, but it doesn't happen this way. Something I don't like about this Hunters comp is it's very ult reliant. And the problem with Temple of Anubis' second point is if you play aggressively, like we're going to see from the Dragons, they're going to force the Hunters to use their ults way further out than they would like to, which makes it very hard to get a clean wipe and then get a clean point capture. So we'll see how this builds on from here. But I hate Hunters neutral damage. They don't have enough damage with a Genji Sombra Wrecking Ball to close out a fight and really get a team wipe unless they get great ultimates. But the Shanghai Dragons can mitigate that with their own ultimates. And that's just, you know, I talk about this every time we talk about Anubis, every time we talk about 2CP. If you just play aggressive enough with the ult cycling that you have, it becomes almost impossible for you to get this cap. And we'll see that here. So Jinmu and the Wrecking Ball are stepping forward, but they're struggling to get Fate from the front. They're going to have Nano Winston. As soon as the Hunters try and step forward, they're going to Nano the Winston aggressive. So here comes the dive, here comes the rally, here comes the Nano Blade. So they Nano Blade, the Dragons trade with the Valk and the Nano, right? So the Nano goes on to Fate, and he's going to land on the backline, and they're not even really going to peel, right? Even Lee Jae-gon, right? He doesn't give a fuck. Like, Izyaki's dead. You're just gonna accept it. Izyaki's dead. You can't save him. And then Lip's probably going to die as well, but they have the Valking and the Nano Winston in the backline to try and apply pressure. So they actually get a pretty clean dive, but it goes back to what I said of it's not a clean wipe. They can't get the wipe. Void isn't even using this bomb to get any kills. He's literally just, they know all they need to do is stall the fights. Hunters used a lot of their ults. They use Rally, Nano Blade, Mines, and they're just stalling the point. Leave gets slapped. Izzyaki gets rezzed. Fleta gets a 1 kill, and as soon as they get this 1 kill, it starts, you know, struggling down for the Hunters. They're now trading even. The EMP goes out. The Diva Bomb go out. They get the mech, but not enough value, because Fleta gets a great copy at the same time. And now you're in trouble, right? Here becomes the issue. If you don't win with those ultimates like we saw from the Hunters, just because a couple of things go wrong, right? All of a sudden, they have no ultimates now. Their composition doesn't win in the neutral, and the Dragon's ult cycling begins, right? Fate's gonna have Primal, then Izyaki's gonna get Nano. Lip can use his Bob to stall the point if they do manage to get onto the point. Void will save for his Diva Bomb. Lee Jae-gon's now gonna be on the Brig for the rally as well. It becomes an impossible task for the Dragons to really start overcoming, and we'll watch why. I don't remember Fate's Winston before, but his primal mechanics were popular this match. Fate has good Winston mechanics. I think where Fate struggles is he's just... I don't think he understands it at the same level as your, like, Smurfs and your Fearlesses. But his Winston's good. Like, he was known for his Winston in 2018. Like, when I played for him, he was one of the better Winstons in the league. I think he does struggle a little bit more. Like, his Wrecking Ball and his Orissas are better than his Winston. But it's definitely fine. Like, his Winston can definitely work. And you'll see that here. So there's the Nano. The Hunters try and walk up. They actually do get a great isolation onto Fate. Does Fate get hacked here? Like, how does he die? Gets hacked. He gets nanoed. He's still hacked. He gets stunned and he gets blown up. The main tank experience. So this is actually a pretty good play by the Hunters, but look at how slowly they have to play. Like, Fate is almost respawned at this point because of how aggressively he's playing. Their backline is so terrified of the dragons that they're not playing fast enough. This is dangerous for the dragons because they don't have many ults. As I said, Lip uses his bob as like an insurance card. He just puts his bob on the point, will slow down the dive. So Fate plays aggressively, dies. They just use the bob to stall the point, force everyone off the point for a little bit. By the time that they try and deal with the bob, Fate's back and they kill Late Young. And then as soon as you lose one person on 2 CP, you're in trouble. They're going to use the mines, but Fate's just going to use the primal. They're going to use the rally, but it's not going to do anything. It's just going to keep them alive. It's not going to help them get the point. This is actually going to be quite a good push for the Hunters if they can go fast, because dragons don't have many ultimates left. Transcendence by... I don't know if I like this Transcendence by Monk. Why does he use his Transcendence here? Maybe a little aggressive. I think he knew everyone needed to go aggressive, so I actually don't mind that. I think his team should have just been more aggressive. So Fate goes down. So they're actually in a pretty good spot here for the Hunters, but the Dragons are stalling that out, right? Void gets onto the point, drops his Diva Bomb. Oh, great counter bomb by Late Young. Void dies to that EMP on the backline. I actually think this happens a lot with the Dragons, where Jinmu EMPs in a situation where almost no one can follow up. And he dies for it as well. Why does that happen, actually? How does Jinmu... Did he throw his translocate? Oh, so he translocates into EMP, expecting that the bomb is going to land in this room, but it doesn't. So then he doesn't have an exit. So he just dies for it. And, you know, as much as Hunters do get a tick and a half, which isn't too bad, it's, you know, it's still not bad for the Dragons, just once again utilizing their ults very effectively. And like, that was worst case scenario for the Dragons, right? Like, that was so close. Like, everything went wrong. Fate died, and then Void died on the recontest, trying to... So Fate comes back with the primals, but Void dies, and then Fate dies, and then they get onto the point, but they still manage to like stabilize. And that's what's so good about the Dragons. I think they trade aggro a lot better than everyone else. I think Void was a large part of why Leeson wasn't able to pop off as hard as in these two matches they met. I think Leave just has a lot of opposition coming from a lot of people. Void does a great job, but also just like, there's a lot more pressure coming up from the Dragons that Leave doesn't have the amount of space that he usually has. Hey, let's watch him, watch his perspective. So they're actually gonna bob aggressive, which I don't know how I feel about, but hey, if they win the team fight, like, Hunters trying to get set up. And this is how both Hunters and the Dragons play this map, is they use an ult early to make it so that the offensive team can never really get set up for a good attack. I think it's better. Monk on 1987. I think we've seen better things from Monk so far this season. So you like, look at how hard Leave is trying to do to get set up. Look at how slowly they're playing. They don't have ultimates. They're kind of like waiting for their rally. So they end up diving with the mines, but Gaga gets slept. Like, no one's really following this dive. So we got a rally. Both teams rally. They're trying so hard to kill Fate. They're trying so hard to kill Fate. They're going to kill him eventually, but that costs them Transcendence and Rally, right? So Liv's going to have Bob. Bob's probably just going to go on the point as soon as they try and step up. There you go. Don't really like where he put this Bob, but it's not bad. Actually, no, it was bad. I think he could have put it on the point and it would have created more of a presence. But once again, like, Hunters just can't kill everyone effectively enough. Like, they keep getting the first pick, but they can't consolidate on the point and get picks fast enough. They haven't got that big EMP that's, like, opened the door for them. And I think that's why you're going to see when Dragons do it, they play the Reaper. I think the Reaper gives you that ability to just... Once you get positioning and once you get space, the Reaper thrives, right? And that's the value of the Reaper in comparison to, like, the Tracer and the Sombra, is both of them do a great amount of poke damage, but... And this is a really smart play by the Dragons. They actually go aggressive. They know that the Hunters have some ults coming up, but they go really aggressive and make it so that they never really manage to group up and get anything done. Jimmy uses the EMP, but like, it's not gonna do anything, right? Who do you think is the best tracer in the league currently? I would say Leave. Oops, I almost switched. You're gonna review any other final games? I'm probably gonna review Dallas versus Atlanta.
Ready for 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Alright, here we go. Let's see how the Dragons do this. So Dragons are playing the Winston Tracer Sombra here. Hunters are playing the Echo Echo Zaya, sorry. They give up a lot of space, and this actually worked well for them another time. But I think last time this worked for them, Lip tried to play the Widow, and I think that was very misguided for the exact reason that we saw. Like, I think Lip ended up rotating here and getting 2 picks, but it took him a long time. So Dragons learned from their mistakes last time. They're actually going to force the point. Oh, Lee Jae-gon kind of got isolated there. I feel like Lee Jae-gon shouldn't have jumped off. Yeah, I don't know. Sort of isolated himself. Ooh, Leave gets punished by Fleta. No, don't go for this res, Yveltal. No, it's gonna work. Wow, good protection by the team. But Chengdu has been forced into the room. Boy goes down. Great play by the Hunters. Honestly, very good play by the Hunters. They gave the space knowing that it'll enable them for a more effective dive. They managed to get pick off on Lee Jae-gon. Do they pick hero bands randomly? Let me clarify this for anyone interested. The way hero bands is going to work, hero bands is completely RNG based on but the only heroes in the pools that can be banned are heroes that were played over a certain percentage threshold. I'm not 100% sure what that threshold is these days, but it's like any hero that was played a reasonable amount is in that pool. If their hero was banned in the in the June Joust, they cannot be banned again. So Tracer, Sombra, Zen, and Reinhardt cannot be banned. 10%. So any hero that has over a 10% playtime is in the pool to get banned, and any hero that was banned historically cannot be banned again. And it will be announced which heroes those are. It's completely RNG between those heroes, like a lottery picking a ball out of a cup. And that will be released on Wednesday. So Dragon stepping up. Nano Winston. Oh, EMP sleep on Fate. Did Lip? What happened to Lip? Jimmu with a really good EMP. Oh, so Lip actually uncloaks. Jimmu EMPs hits Lip and Fate. That was actually a really good EMP. I actually really like that EMP by Jimmu.
Wobble wobble, motherfucker.
Daikon, thank you for the 10 months. 10 months, narrowly avoided a sub Cheng 9. Haha, big thinking, big thinking. Fate gets Shinmu, but Fate goes down. Alright, if I remember correctly, Gaga like hard fucks this up. Look at this. So this is really good juggling. Great juggling until here. He jumps, lands here, sort of lands on top of everyone, and then tries to run away and just bonks himself. This was a really big mistake by Gaga. But then EMP late young and the backline, and then Yveltal gets isolated, Jimmy gets isolated, so that was kind of bad by Gaga. That was pretty much on Gaga for just playing too aggressive. They try and use the grab Diva Bomb to get this over. And here's the issue with what the Hunters did. They just used every single ultimate to try and hold the first point, and that's dangerous because all of a sudden the Dragons get to come back with a ton of ults. Guess ball will be banned. I hope it is not. Is Zarya a good pick on this map? Zarya has yes and no. Zarya is very exploitable in terms of her killing, but the Graviton is obviously a very good win condition. I like it more on attack than I do on defense. But I really think you need the D.Va to try and control high grounds. The fact that Zarya can't control things on high grounds is a really big problem. Dark Soul Prism, thank you for the 2 months. So, Dragon stepping up. They got a lot of ultimates. So, they're probably going to nano the Winston, try and go. Oh, Hunters go first. I think that the Dragons are playing a little bit too slow for their, for the ultimates that they have. But there's nano Winston. There's an EMP. And great play by the Hunters. But now the Hunters don't have ultimates. So the Dragons are stockpiling their ultimates for a rainy day. D.Va just does a lot of stuff. D.Va's just very well-rounded. That is why D.Va is played most of the time. D.Va is very rarely a bad pick. Like, sometimes you can squeeze more value out of Zarya, but most of the time D.Va will just be better. Which is why you don't see a lot of teams play the Zarya. Faye gets punished. And just great aggression by the Hunters here. Not allowing Dragons to get set up. It's so bad that they nano Fleta in this mega room. So Fleta's gonna punish Gaga, but that's the defensive style, right? You just disengage. By the time you get back to the point and the Dragons get aggressive, Gaga will be back. Leave is probably gonna play aggressive with his copy to just sort of slow them down. But look at how slow the Dragons are. They're really, really slow. Faye goes in. EMP's not great. Hits the Echo copy and the Winston, but that's going to be really hard to punish. And Lee Jae Gon rallies, but they're not playing aggressive with it. Like, sort of see, the Dragons, the Hunters are just getting more value out of their ultimates. The rally's really good by Yveltal. Punishes Fleta, and that should just be it. Classic Lip EMP. Lip's EMPs were actually better, I think, this weekend, but he still had a couple like that where I think he's trying to isolate the front line, but the team is just unable to do so. Lip EMP is a tired narrative. I don't think it's tired. I think it's still relevant from time to time, but I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as it used to be. This is the grand finals. This is the final match. So Dragon stepping up, trying to get Gaga out of position. So they're gonna nano the Winston. Winston goes aggressive. Clean dive by the Hunters. And the Dragons are stockpiling ultimates, right? And this is the thing you need to notice, right? They're stockpiling. As much as the Hunters aren't using that many ultimates, the Dragons are just building them up, understanding that they only need one big fight. So here we go. Pretty much 6 ultimates from the Dragons. They just need to slowly set up. And if you're gonna play slow, now's the time to play slow.
60 seconds remaining.
So here's a good EMP. The Hunters are playing somewhat slow. EMP is good. This EMP doesn't look like it should be good because they should be far enough away. But the fact that they managed to able to isolate Leave and then this TP by Fleta was sick. That's such a good TP. Gets nanoed, drops the Death Blossom, kills Yveltal, and here's the team clean wipe that we're talking about, right? Like, that's just clean. And they don't need that much time on the point to just win. So, great EMP by Lip at the end to really open that up, and great follow-up by the Dragons. And that's probably why they were playing that slow style. Fleta is on form. Fleta has always been on form. I don't think he's been as dominant, like, earlier on in the season, as we see him right now, but Lip Fleta is just so good. Alright, here we go. So we're actually we see a surprising amount of Winston, and it's not that crazy to see Winston on Eichenwalde as well. I don't really know why Hunters chose this map, right? So what other maps are in the pool for this tournament for Hybrid? So we got Ike, Kings Row, Hollywood. Are they the only 3 maps? Numbani's not in the pool this tournament. I think it's just those 3. So maybe this is the best one for Hunters because this one is the most conducive to Pharah. Like, I just think the Hunters should play Pharah. I think that's where they're... I think that's where they are the best, but there's also not a very good Wrecking Ball map, I think, from time to time, so... And that's why I think we see both these Winstons. I don't really like the Torb. I don't really know what the point of this Torb is. I feel like you're just challenging the Dragons to be flexible when I think they're better at being flexible, right?
Attackers incoming.
They won on it the day before, did they?
A.
It's all blending together. Did they play the Torb though? I feel like I would have remembered if they played Torb. Interesting. Oh, that's right. What wasn't that the time that they just nanoed? It went to round 3 and they just kept nanoing leave on the Crete. I remember that, and they had a really good hold by holding in this bunker room. Like they on defense they held this room. I remember that. So I guess they're trying the same thing. That was Gibraltar. Yeah, but did they do it on Gibraltar and? Because they won Gibraltar and Ike last time they played. And I remember liking the Zaya because I think this is not as good of a map for the Wrecking Ball. Oh, that was a very good dive. Was this an adaptation then by the Dragons to play the Reaper? I'm trying to remember. Because I think this Lucio Reaper is a great counter to what the Hunters are playing. Because I think the Reaper shuts down the Zaya and the Torb very, very well. Because, like, the Hunter's comp is obviously built to shut down the Dragons playing the Wrecking Ball. You can't play Tracer Sombra Wrecking Ball against Torb, McCree, Zaya, right? They didn't play this comp at all? Yeah. So I think this is a great adaptation by the Dragons. And what makes them one of the best teams in the league is this... I didn't like the Lucio Ana Reaper when I first looked at it, but if they just play this quickly like they did, right? They just ignore the Torb. They're like, oh, Jinmu, you want to play over there? Like, that's even a fucking enormous bio need by Monk. But the dive is just too fast. And this is why I don't really like this Torb McCree from the Hunters, is I feel like it's open to so many counters. Like, I even think if they played like the Pharah, the Pharah would be pretty good against this, because as much as McCree Torb theoretically is good against the Pharah, I think the Pharah can just apply so much pressure. But they just get a nano, if they just nano their Winston onto their opposition, or even just nano the Reaper, it's just gonna end in tears for them. Let it get slept again. There's the nano fate. Don't agree with that. Oh, actually, I remember this. First of all, don't agree with that nano at the last second to try and win it. Second of all, don't agree with the grab. This was a very ill-advised grab here from the Dragons, from the Hunters. And now, like, it gets really hard. If they had this grab going into the next point, would this have worked against the D.Va? I think if they go, like, if Jinmu goes... I think if Jinmu goes Sombra and Late Young goes to the D.Va, they sort of end up close to a mirror matchup, and I actually kind of like the Hunters comp, but I think staying on the Torb is a big mistake. I think the Torb McCree is so slow and so flat-footed that it gives Dragons the ability to engage whenever they want. And with this EMP, you're going to see that I think the Hunters are going to just try and like pick at them from distance, but at some point they're going to have to go, and the EMP is going to get crazy value. So they just solo EMP Gaga, honestly. That's kind of disrespectful. Torbolt doesn't really get a whole lot of value. Rally, high noon. The beat from the top rope, but once again, Leave gets run down, right? That's the second fight in a row that the Leave has gotten run down. And this is why you generally didn't see a lot of McCree or Torb in these compositions, because if you can't stop them from diving your backline, then your backline just gets murdered. They're playing Brig, Anna, Torb, McCree, but they just can't do anything. And I think the counter, what Hunters need is a Tracer. Like, I think if they just went Tracer Sombra here, I actually think they'd be in a pretty good spot. And because the Tracer runs around for pretty much free. Like, nothing in the Dragon's comp really slops the Tracer. So, not a big fan. So Gaga primals Izayaki, but they get stuffed in the back line. And this is all, in my opinion, a cascading effect from them just having a bad comp on first. They just don't have the ultimates to fight these comps. Jimmy does a great job of stalling the card that they might even get another fight, but they still don't have ultimates. Yeah, they stay Torb and they shouldn't for the ult. Like, keeping that ult I don't think is worth it. Flighter kills leave. They're just not stabilizing at all. Fate's primaling in the back line, just murdering them all.
The payload has reached the channel.
So here come the dragons, just absolutely bopping them. So now they got EMP, Diva Bomb, Reaper ult. But the whole Hunters are finally starting to get ults of their own. I actually don't mind this Wrecking Ball switch by Gaga as well. I actually kind of like the Wrecking Ball against the Reaper. I think the Reaper murders the Winston. Well, I think the Wrecking Ball does a pretty good job. Who's gonna EMP first is the real question. Everyone's sort of hanging out. So Lip's gonna EMP the front line, only hits the Sombra. If they can keep the Sombra alive, they're in a pretty good spot. Oh, Nano Brig. I assume this was a mistake. Oh yeah, that was kind of unfortunate. Okay. Yeah, that Nano Brig was a problem. Big EMP. Good, that's a great nade from Monk as well. That gets the Diva and the Sombra. So they should be able to stabilize off this, off just respawns. Flutter goes down, yeah, and that's gonna be it. And all of that goes back to just a really good EMP from Jinmu. Like, that EMP from Jinmu hard screwed it. Like, if Void, like, if they don't get Lip and Void with that EMP, I think Void has Diva Bomb. They just, like, stole the point, stagger all the characters, and it's just, from there it goes on. Why don't third points on Payload have the same problem as 2CP respawns? They do, from time to time, but the big difference is that you don't have to, they have to stand on the point, right? And it's a lot harder to defend a mobile point that gets closer and closer because they only really have to stand on it, right? From this distance to this distance, they only really need to stand on it for a few seconds. While a 2CP, you have to stand on the point for like a long time. And someone can be standing on the point from like really far away and stuff like that. So it's not as easy to just like stagger the point. Izayaki gets Gaga. I don't know how that happens. Diva Bomb's mines to slow them down. Was this just too aggressive? How did they get back in here? Jinmu gets slapped, gets killed. Gaga goes in with the mines, with the Diva Bomb. It gets split by the Diva Bomb and dies. Pretty good re-engage by the Dragons, but maybe a little bit too aggressive from Jinmu. EMP's good. And you sort of see, like, everyone has to run into the open to contest the point in comparison to how it would work in a 2CP. So generally, anyone who tries to force the point gets punished. An EMP, that was a good EMP. Lip generally favors EMPing the front line than he does, like, getting big value EMPs in the back line. And it's not a bad, right? It's just sometimes it looks bad because they don't have the follow-up. Have we heard anything recently about Void as a teammate? I remember him being kind of a liability a couple of years ago, but he seems to have massively improved. I don't think he was ever a liability on the Gladiators. I don't think he did as well on the Gladiators as he is now on the Dragons, but that could there's a million different factors that build upon that. I don't think Void has ever... It's ever been talked about that Void was a bad teammate. I've never heard that. Wrecking Ball Con from Shanghai got countered by Leave Kree. Hunters try Kree again. The Shanghai adapts because they predicted the McCree pick. If Hunters stayed Tracer Sombra, why would have... They would have countered Shanghai's comp. Whew, long explanation. Yeah, and that's That's just the way of counter-comping it works, right? The reason people don't play McCree is because it's too easily run over. But also, Leave was playing at a level on that McCree that was exceptional. In this first series between the Dragons and the Hunters, Leave's Cree should not get that much value. It shouldn't. Like, he was just not missing. You go back and watch that Gibraltar, he was just phenomenal. And he was just not missing, getting nano, getting hard-pocketed by the Hunters, and that's why it worked. The Dragons recognize that if they're going to try that again, just play the Reaper. Like, play the Winston Reaper. So now they're actually going to play it, because I actually don't think they... I think the Dragons don't believe that the Reaper Lucio Ana isn't that bad against this Hunter's composition as well. Kind of a bad teammate. I think the two that are most prominent in the community that were considered bad teammates was Envy and Darko. I think are the two people that were publicly talked about as being toxic off tanks. I think Fate's Winston has improved. Well, at least from the melee, but it's also like, I feel like he hasn't played a ton of Winston. And Fate's Winston was never bad. It's just he kind of struggled at the highest level. Envy, that was it. Yeah, Envy was incredibly toxic. As I have heard the stories as someone who went on to Valiant post Envy. I've heard some things that yeah, Envy was not a good teammate. Didn't Shanghai sign Envy? Yeah, Envy played for them last year, but never played. The year before that, 2019 maybe? But he didn't really play. He didn't play over... Who was the off-tank for Shanghai? Who was the other off-tank in Season 2? For Shanghai. Gaguri? Did Envy just always play? Oh, that's right. They didn't play off-tanks in GOATs. Wait, who was their off-tank, though? So it was Envy. Who played their Diva? I can't even remember. Ding? Youngjin? Not Ding, yeah. Was it Youngjin? I can't remember.
Wobble wobble, motherfucker.
I think it was Youngjin. Youngjin sounds right. Yeah, I can't remember. Sad Doctor, thank you for 5 months. Watching your stream live from an airplane. We live in the future. It's crazy. Yo. That's actually cool. Gamso and Gaguri were the tanks. No, but Gaguri didn't play. Like, Gaguri didn't play in Season 2. Really. Like, Gaguri, unfortunately, like, Gaguri never really got much playtime. Jimmu goes down. Was that a sleep by Izayaki? Oh, that's a good sleep. Yeah, so Shanghai Dragons have gone through a lot of players. And a lot of different identities. Dude, Shanghai just going balls to the wall aggressive. And it doesn't feel like the Hunters... Like, I feel like the Dragons would know how to deal with the Shanghai Dragons comp. But it doesn't feel like the Hunters know how to deal with this, like, Lucio Reaper style. They just can't keep their backline alive. Every time they tried to play the Zen Brig against this Lucio... Like, I don't think the Zen... Oh, wow, that's kind of disrespectful. EMP outside the front of their spawn. Every time, like, they try to play this, they can't keep their Zen Brig alive. I remember thinking Zen was very bad against the thing. Well, Zen generally doesn't work against the Lucio's speed, but if you can play the Zen Brig effectively, it works, right? You also drops the rally, but like, the best way to counter this style, right, is to just try and counter dive really hard, or like play more aggressive so that they don't have the space to... They don't have the time or the space to dive your backline. But unfortunately, like, Dragons understand that, and they're just playing aggressive their own style. That's a great counter dive by the Hunters, though. They use the rally, they use the Transcendence, they use the EMP, just hard counter dive. So, good play by the Hunters, understanding that the Dragons were going to go balls to the walls aggressive.
Objective lost. Stop.
Amazing how this comp was only discussed. They never practiced this. Yeah, but like they play. I think they've like played styles of stuff like this as well. And like that's what makes Dragons one of the best teams. It's the Dallas Fuel can do the same. Is they can adapt and do anything at the drop of a hat because they're just such talented players and teams, right? How like, oh my god, I don't really, yeah. So like you can see that the Dragons just understand that their win condition isn't to protect their backline, it's to just kill their front, kill the opposition backline. They're just willing to trade their backline for the opposition backline whenever they want. Dallas and NA had a month to think up a counter for Apex ball comps, but they look like they were experimenting in the finals. Well, they tried a lot of different things, right? Sometimes you can theorize a lot of things and they don't work. And I also think Dragons are a better team than the Hunters. So even though maybe this composition, like, let's say we flipped the roles, right? Let's say Dragons were the ones, Hunters were the ones that tried to play the Reaper, Sombra, Lucio, Ana, Winston against the Dragons. It might not have worked. Like, it's not just comp between these two teams. It could literally just be that Dragons are the better team. And that's why this is working. Because it really confuses me how easily the Dragons are managing to punish Monk and Yveltal. What makes Eichenwalde so second so easy to spawn camp? Because at some point they have to walk through this choke. This choke and also this spawn camp here, because they have to walk out either of these two small doors and you can protect both small doors very easily. That's what makes it spawn camp so good. When I watch Owl, I basically look at the kill feed to understand who's winning the fight. Honestly, that's what most people do, so. Like, Yveltal and Monk need to be very careful of where they're positioned right now. Like, you can see the Dragons see where they are. Like, look at that beating gauge, right? Like, look at how... And I think this is a big issue for the Hunters. The Hunters aren't applying any pressure, right? They're not stopping the Dragons from taking all this space. Look at, they just gave them the high ground. Like, I don't think the Hunters are playing anywhere near as aggressively. They're not set up for the counter dive. They're not. Like, they just beat dive. And like, they like EMP it, but it's like, it's not that great. Like, they have to use trans EMP to even stay in this fight. And they could easily have lost this. So, I'm not in love with what just happened. But here we are. Yveltal ends up glued to Monk, but that's how he should be playing it anyway. Yveltal needs to stay with Monk. So this should be a pretty good fight for the Hunters. They should be able to control this space pretty well. But once again, someone needs to be applying pressure. So they can't allow the Dragons to rotate around and get onto their backline. Yeah, and if their backline is going to play this far away, you just go, okay, let's just take the 6v4. Faye gets punished. They get leave. Oh. Pretty good play by the Hunters there. Forcing the point, force the Hunters to dive you. Oh, Monk gets another Transcendence, which is enormous as well. If Monk doesn't get that Transcendence, they probably lose this team fight. Oh, Monk, too aggressive. Oh, no. The spawn's just too good for the Dragons. Did Yveltal die there trying to stun the remake? Let's have a look. Nah, he didn't know where the diva was. He got lost. That's such a big kill as well. Like, that's so important that Yveltal dies there. Yeah, if Yveltal doesn't get killed by that mech, they're probably in a good spot. So, kind of tragic. Lost in the sauce, yeah. Okay.
30 seconds
Apagándola.
remaining.
They're doing a good job of consistently applying cart pressure, but that's a great EMP by Lip. Look at this dive as well. Look at that dive coordination. Just fucking... If they decide they want you to die, the dragons will make sure you die. Wow, that's great play by Izzyaki and Lee Jae Gon as well to not die to the Tracer Sombra. And the Hunters are just in trouble. They're going to struggle to touch.
Remaining.
What are the good DPS counters for Winston or Bull? Against Bull, Sombra's really good against Bull. Reaper's really good against Winston as well. But I actually think the Hunter's comp is quite good. I just think they struggle to like string it together, you know what I mean? I don't think they're applying enough pressure. They're giving dragons way too much space. Like their backline's always gonna die and get EMP'd if they give them the top of the high ground. So I don't think they're playing as aggressive against this Reaper style that they need to be. Dragons attacking the Hunters like their own money. Alright, let's move on.
Wobble wobble.
On to Route
motherfucker.
66. Gooface, thank you very much for fresh sub. So, we go over to Route 66, and this is very conducive for the Wrecking Ball. And the Hunters are going to try this Torb Echo again. So, I really don't like this. I actually think they can win in the mirror. I really think the Hunters can win in the Wrecking Ball mirror. I think that's where that's where they got their success, right? Isn't that where how they won on Eichenwalde and Gibraltar? Or was it, no, Kings Road and Gibraltar? In the last time they played the series, like they didn't play any of this Torb Reaper shit. So I really don't know if I agree with these switches. Like, yeah, they played like Wrecking Ball, like they played a little bit of a creep, but I don't think they need to do anything like too crazy. You can do a little bit of adaptation, but Torb Reaper, Moira Brig. If this didn't work for the West, I don't know why the Hunters think it's gonna work for them, but hey, let's see how it goes. They basically went Rain's comp, yeah. And that's not good because it didn't work for the Rain, right? It's like, it feels like the Hunters lost playing the Winston style, and for that reason they were like, well, now we can't play the Wrecking Ball style. You know what I mean? They were like, they tried to play the Wrecking Ball and Dragons played the Reaper, and they're like, oh, well, it doesn't work. But I don't know if I agree with that. I think the Winston Reaper style, Lucio style that the Hunters, the Dragons were playing is good on Anubis and is good on Eichenwalde, but I don't think it's good on Route 66. So I think they could easily play the Wrecking Ball here and take it to the Dragons, because that's how they won the first map, right? Even play the Pharah, like if you feel like you can make that work. Oh wow, that's disgusting. So they do get the first point, and you know this counter dive can definitely work. I think the biggest issue with this comp from the Hunters is that they're gonna have the exact same issue that they had on Eichenwalde. As soon as, yes, I think their comp counters the Dragons for certain points, but as soon as the Dragons switch to back to their Reaper, I think they're gonna be in trouble.
Apagando las luces.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
It worked decently, yeah. It works until it doesn't, and they're gonna comp fuck themselves, and that's kind of like what happened on Eichenwalde. Because they comp fuck themselves, it works for a bit until it doesn't, and then you lose a lot because it doesn't have a lot of flexibility. So the Dragon's stepping around. Oh, good pulse bomb. Oh, Nisha lives. Oh, that's a disrespectful shadow on the lip. And this is a big problem for Dragons. By trying to recontest here and use the EMP here, like this is kind of did this to themselves, right? They EMP'd on this first point last time, and that's going to cost them. So now they don't have that big EMP to sort of take this team fight. The Dragons can just use their ultimates. They rally, they use the coal, they solo shatter fucking lip, and then they're going to get the second point for free. And I actually, like, I actually kind of like this play from the Hunters, and I actually think this is good for them. Where they fuck up is I think as soon as they cap this second point, they should switch. I think they need to get off this comp, understanding that the Dragons are going to switch as well. So when they get this cap... Okay, yeah, we'll look at the thing. As soon as Faye switches to Winston, and they have the Brig, and they have all this, like, all of a sudden they're not playing that style. Like, Fleta switches to the Reaper, Fate switches to the Winston. They don't really have ults. I would love to see the Hunters almost mirror this comp. I think they can mirror the same comp as the Dragons. Gaga can play the Winston. Jinmu can play, like, Jinmu goes to Sombra, Lee play the Reaper. I think their comp can work. You can even switch just Nisha to the Lucio and play fast, like mirror the fast tempo. But by playing this Torb, I think they kind of fuck themselves. They make themselves very, like they enable the Dragon's composition to get value. Map is map 4. Great EMP. Shutting that shit down by the Hunters. Yeah, like, and I think they're just gonna comp fuck themselves. Like, I can just see it coming, right? Like, they're staying on the Torb, and they're like, oh, we almost have Cole, we have Shatter, let's just stay on these ults. No. If you have 4 minutes, just switch. Because there's no way they cap through this entire map with these ultimates, right? What does Sigma do in this comp? The Sigma was good against like the Torb and stuff like that, but they're no longer playing Torb. So I think Void is just kind of sort of stuck on this thing. He will switch to the, he's gonna switch to the D.Va later. Because the D.Va can, the Sigma can just like phase off the like Torb and like the backline damage and just put out a ton of damage themselves. So what, now they just nano the Reaper in, the Shadow goes down. Fleta just absolutely fucks. This uses the rally, Monk uses the Cole. And here's the thing, so Hunters blow their load. Legitimate, like, not even like theoretically, they actually blow their load. And they use all of their ults, and they're gonna win the team fight because they saved all these ultimates. Good job. But now, how do they win the next fight? Right? How are they going to do this? I actually love this switch from Lee Jae-gon, by the way. This is great understanding of the Hunters' win conditions, that they have nothing to kill Lee Jae-gon. He can just play in the back with a Discord Orb and just shoot at them. If he plays Brig, he can't do anything. There's no one diving his Ana, so he's not protecting his Ana, and he can't play aggressively because he's just gonna die to like Reaper, Ryan, Torb, all those kind of things. Lucio, they're not really speeding in that much. He probably should have played Lucio. Actually, he probably could have got more like theoretical value from the Lucio. But the Zen, you play with the Discord, you play that extra damage down the hallway. I approve of this. Great flux by Void. So now, if you're the Hunters, you need to switch, right? And what did that, like, so let's theoretically look at that, right? So they blew all their ultimates. They didn't even gain anything. So their cart goes to here, but they lose control. So the Dragons are playing aggressively to the point that this control is going to go back and they're going to lose that advantage anyway. So now, they're still on a shitty comp. Now Monk is on Zen. So they're going the Brig Zen, Wrecking Ball. And I actually don't like this Zen Wrecking Ball here either. I think this is really hard to get flank and get into the backline. I think they should have mirrored the Winston in some capacity, but now they're going to go to the Wrecking Ball composition. And Lee Jae-gon's going to switch. I think Lee Jae-gon switches. He's actually going to stay. Is he going to stay? Wow, that was fucking alpha. But Void and Lee Jae-gon need to switch now, right? Void wants to get on that D.Va. Lee Jae-gon wants to get on that Lucio or even the Brig. So they're going to EMP aggressive. They go on the back line, but Hunters have no ult, so they can't really counter this. Can't the Reaper flank the Zen? Not really, not at this level. At this level, the backline's gonna see it coming and people are gonna help. People are gonna help. The Reaper can't really solo kill a Zen. The backline has to kind of fuck up. He stays for trance? Yeah, he's gonna stay for trance. So Void and Lee Jae-gon are gonna stay for trance. And they're just going to win this fight, and then they're going to switch at the appropriate time. So now all of a sudden, the Hunter switch late, now they're trying to get their ultimates up. Sleep onto the back line. Gaga's in trouble. Gaga goes down. So here's another fight. That's another 20 or 30 seconds that they lose just because Gaga gets caught. Fake gets nanoed in. Kills Nisha. Once again, this is kind of similar to Temple of Anubis, this map of they're just playing so aggressive that hunters never get a good fight. Like, why is Monk here? Please don't press Q. Don't press Q. Don't press Q. Alright, so don't press Q. Lee J going presses Q. Gets it up, but he's gonna run with this, right? Gaga turbo feeds again. They're legitimately just turbo feeding into the dragons. What is the Reaper's role? To TP into the backline with the Winston. So what's gonna happen? So for this Hunter's comp, for them, their win condition is to get their Wrecking Ball Tracer Sombra into the backline and punish the dragons, right? For the dragons, they actually have a Winston Reaper that can be more forceful of just, they're just gonna, what's gonna happen is they're gonna jump the Winston in and the Reaper's gonna follow in and the Sombra's gonna hack one. They kind of play the same role as the Tracer, just with more explosive power. So yeah, we'll see.
60 seconds remaining.
So now they're set up. The Zen and the Brig, they're gonna have to use their defensive so early, right? So Void's probably gonna flux here as soon as they step forward. There it is. So they're gonna flux. The Transcendence goes out. That's a good trade. This is a terrible EMP. An absolute terrible EMP. So it cancels the flux, but they already tranced to deal with the flux anyway, so it doesn't really do anything. Lip comes in, just counter EMPs because they had to play so aggressive. Actually hits Nisha with the rally. Worst case scenario, Fleta comes in, murders the backline.
30 seconds.
And I just don't like the Wrecking Ball comp here. I think it's really hard for the Wrecking Ball to get any value on this third point because there's no space to move around. And that's why I think Fake's playing the Winston. And that's why I do question this Route 66 pick as well. Like, wouldn't they have been better off playing, like, Junkertown, right? Because as much as their comp worked on first and second, I think they were always going to struggle in this third if the Dragons got this comp. Because if you think about how the Dragons have been successful so far on Anubis, Eichenwalde, and now Route 66 is if there was ever a point in which they could play this Winston Reaper, they literally just stopped them in the tracks, and the Hunters don't have an answer to this at all. So this has just enabled the Dragons to just play super aggressive. Let Young makes it to the car, but it's not going to do anything. So pretty... I just think this is the weakness. Like, I think head-to-head, the Hunters playing this Wrecking Ball comp, as I said, they're actually pretty even. But the Dragons' ability to adapt and play other things is where the Hunters severely lack. I think every time the Hunters have been forced in this Summer Showdown playoffs, because it happened in their last series where they did on Basan, where Dragons played Farah on that one, and then they switched to the Ryan Brawl. Every time the Dragons have adapted and thrown a curveball at the Hunters have just fallen over. They haven't shown an ability or a willingness to change what they're doing. Why not go Reaper to counter the Reaper? Winston, that is a great question. They had Reaper originally. It feels like every time they switch to the Wrecking Ball, it's ill-advised.
5, 4.
Lip is the MVP frontrunner. I agree. I think if I had to give an MVP right now, it would probably be Lip. I think Fearless has struggled a little bit in the Summer Showdown, which has given the edge to Lip. Is Sig Monkey a thing now? No, they're only doing it because it was working against what the Hunters were doing. So once again, the Dragons are going to play the Winston Lucio Reaper. And I think this is just the Dragons of being like, they haven't beaten us playing this Winston Lucio Reaper. Until they work out how to beat it, we're just going to keep playing it. Because the Dragons also recognize, like, hey, if we play the Wrecking Ball Mirror, they're actually pretty good at it. We can lose. Let's just keep playing it until they work out how to beat it. And the Hunters just never work out how to beat it, which is kind of rough. I think the biggest weakness that the Hunters have is they don't know how to keep Nisha and Monk alive against these dive comps. Well, I think the Dragons are so good at that. How does Leave dive to Fleta? Oh, why'd he go aggressive again? Ugh, that was kind of bad by Leave. Got himself isolated. And you just see, like, somehow the dragons just keep getting onto the back line. Well, like, theoretically, it should be impossible. And I think it actually might go back to the fact that I don't think Gaga and Jinmu and Leave are playing aggressively enough. I don't think there is enough pressure being applied to Izayaki. When was the last time that we saw Izayaki get dove before the dragons dove, right? It just doesn't seem to be happening. Like, Izayaki should be very susceptible to this composition, but they're just not setting up. They're playing so flat-footed. Like, why isn't a slam happening here? As soon as they dive, where's Gaga? Like, why is Gaga over here? Jinmu's over here. Leaves over here. They're not counter diving in any way. They're not providing pressure that stops the dragons from doing whatever the heck they want.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Do you think there's a hero band that could shut down the dragons? Or ability to adapt is good? I think dragons will be good no matter what. Will dragons be the best if Wrecking Ball gets banned? I don't know. I think Wrecking Ball is by far the trump card, like the ace up their sleeve that the dragons have. If they don't have that ace up their sleeve, there's a chance that Dallas Fuel is very, very strong. Like the Wrecking Ball is the one thing that I don't think the West know how to deal with. Well, I think if the West had to play against this, if dragons were forced to play this composition right here against the West, I actually think the West would be favored. Because I think this is what the West is good at. Dragons do have a good Orisa comp, I agree, but I don't think Orisa comp... I think the West can beat the Orisa comps, while I don't think the West can beat the Wrecking Ball comps, if that makes sense. So that's why I kind of hope that the Countdown Cup is a Wrecking Ball meta. I would love to see the West try and play the Wrecking Ball. That's a pretty bad EMP by Lip. They just nanoed and EMP'd for... That's a good counter EMP by the Hunters. Good beat by Lee Jae Gon, not getting hit by that. Fake just turbo fed a little bit there. I think he was expecting to... I think he just got murdered. Gets bashed, yeah, just gets bashed, jumps. I think he needed to jump away with that. I think maybe he thought he got the beat as well, but I don't know if he did. Oh, Lee Jae Gun also turbo. That was kind of bad ultimate usage by the dragons there. Started with the bad EMP that resulted in the bad nano. That then meant everyone was too deep. That then enabled Hunters to get a good EMP. Why the Xayah? I don't really know why the Xayah. I also don't know why the Hanzo. Like, this feels like a throw by the dragons. Like, this feels so bad. Why not? I don't know why they feel like they can't play the Reaper, Lucio Reaper, and just TP with the Diva as well. Like, I don't know why they did this. Like, I don't like this at all. I also questioned the Hanzo, but then Lip fuck. Did he fuck? I don't think he does fuck. I thought he was incredibly mediocre on the Hanzo. Like, why? How does the Hanzo enable your Lucio Winston Tracer composition? It's the same thing with the Xayah. Just play, like, the Diva is so good against everything that the Hunters have. Like, I feel like this is just the dragons feeling themselves, or just like they're just playing mystery heroes. Their players are just like, ah, fuck it, let's play this. But I don't like the Xayah or the Hanzo at this point. I'm guessing Grab Dragon, but Grab Dragon isn't worth building for, right? Especially if they have a Transcendence. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, they solo grabbed the Wrecking Ball, but that's like not really worth it. So, like, here is a prime example of why to switch off the Xayah. And also, like, one of the biggest problems with Hanzo is his ultimate is just wet trash. Like, in this meta, against the composition that the Hunters are playing, how do you ever get value with a with a dragon? Like, it's just so hard. The only way is, like, if you grab everyone, but it's also hard to get value out of a grab. Like, let's go back to Lip. Like, Lip is literally just playing Respawn Simulator on this Hanzo.
Feeling powerful.
Like, they just can't close out fights. So Void goes over to the Diva, as he should. But Lip's gonna stay on this Hanzo. You guys want to see the world's greatest Hanzo? You guys want to see the greatest dragon of all time?
We cannot stop now. Move the payload.
I miss Raxu. Same. Not as a player. Like, I hated playing against Raxu, but he was funny. Even when, like, when they buffed Hanzo, he stopped playing Hanzo. As soon as it became meta, he was like, I'm out. I don't want to play Hanzo anymore. Like, look at this dragon. It forced the Zen and the McCree and the Breeks positioning for a little bit. I guess it forced Monk and got pulse bomb. Oh, what? Monk just murders him. Excuse me? Fuck your pulse bomb, Fleta. Fake gets leave. Yeah, like, I don't think by any means the Dragons comp was better than the Hunters. They just played well. And I think that's what got them the win. Their dive eventually worked.
60 seconds remaining.
All because of the dragon. No, okay.
The checkpoint.
Fate gets rally, yeah, like Fate just had a really good primal and that's what busted it wide open. Like, I don't think it was ever because of like good individual play, like good composition. So let's see if the Lip Hanzo can get some more value here. Fiction 7X, thank you very much for the prime sub. Like, somebody explain to me why the Hunters are playing so passive. Like, I guess the Hanzo works if that's what you're gonna do. Is Dragon also kind of useless? It kind of forces positioning, but it doesn't really matter. I just think the Hunters are just so in their head right now of like how they're playing the game. They're playing a dive comp, but they're just playing it so slowly. Against the Hanzo, they're just playing so passive that of course they're gonna lose over time. The Hanzo's gonna hit shots eventually. Like, let's look at this from Izayaki perspective, right? So they dive. Oh, that was unfortunate. Gets EMP'd. So Izayaki dies because he was the one who dove.
I'll rest when the fight is done.
Well, my point kind of got nullified by the fact that the rest of the Dragons just won. But yeah, like, this isn't like the way that the Dragons play it. Like, Dragons just absolutely pop off. Like, it feels weird. So let's go over Nepal. Nepal's an interesting one because this goes back to, like, I think the Wrecking Ball comps are quite good on a bunch of these rounds. So we're actually going to start on Shrine as well, which is really good for Chengdu. So this is like, it's actually interesting because the Chengdu Hunters come out on the Pharah and we've seen them win. They won the first map, Ilios, playing this style. So the Dragons come out with the Echo, and I actually remember talking to a couple of people who said that the Mercy Echo is actually better against their Echo Pharah Mercy. But we never really saw this come to fruition in the entire Summer Showdown. Like, the Echo very rarely did counter the Pharah. In general, the Pharah worked better than the Echo. So let's have a look at it here. So they get the, oh wow, good rockets. Oh, good play by Void and Lip, but it's still not going to be enough. And the Hunters get the advantage off the bat. Fleta just flies into Jimmu's face, and that's how it works. So Jimmu actually respects it and actually goes to the Echo of his own, which is kind of interesting, which makes you believe that maybe the Echo is the counter to the Pharah. Like, Jimmu didn't want to play the Pharah against it. So we don't get to see it, but I guess the point holds true. Oh. Alright, so everyone's just sort of poking, but Late Young uses a thing. EMP from Lip only hits the Mercy? Oh, and the Wrecking Ball. Alright. Okay, it gets Among. That's who it was really for. Alright, nice play. Hack on leave. Well played. Wow, great res by Yveltal. Look at this. Yveltal just bullies away. Look at this. Yveltal bullies Izzyaki away to jump off. And then gets the res. That's kind of sick. Oh, Izyaki's upset about it. Lee Jae-gon chooses violence. Not a bad fight from the Hunters, but the Dragons get control. And they have a lot of ults now as well to work with. This is going to be really hard. Like, how do the Hunters get into this fight? Moth leaving San Francisco was so impactful and no one talks about it. Here's the reason why no one talks about it, is it's hard to discuss the impact of Moth leaving. Like, how do you describe the impact of Moth leaving? Like, I think Moth was a very consistent main support, and that was very valuable, and he can also play everything. But also, theoretically, Moth was the major caller and a consistent caller for the team. But I don't know, I have no way to tangibly say that. How do you define that? How do you say Moth was the caller for the San Francisco Shock and that's why they're losing? It's like, I don't have any evidence of that or proof of that. And theoretically, on stats-wise, Lee Jae-gon is better than Moth. But if you use the eye test and the way that the team coordinates, you can't do that. And that is why that is a hard... I agree with the take. It's just hard to talk about it. And give a tangible reason of why that is true. So Fled is just fucking. The Hunters don't have ultimates right now, and that's like, oh, nice kill by Jinmu. They can actually turn this. I think Jinmu should probably use the copy. I would have actually really liked to see him use the copy on the D.Va here. There it is. So the Dragons are just consolidating on the point. Oh, where did that bomb go? Where the fuck did the bomb go? Oh, that's kind of a nice bomb. Yeah, great play by the Hunters there. They got that pick on the Fletter and then committed the right ultimates. EMP by Lip. Nano by Monk onto Jinmu. Oh, great sleep by Monk. Oh, Jinmu gets isolated though. Oh, how does that bomb happen? I remember this. How does this actually happen? That is a great bomb. That is a very good bomb. Holy shit. Fletter turning that fight so hard. V look up, thank you for 6 months. No, Jimmy, no win. Oh, no. Boy loses mech, but I don't think it really matters. Oh, Among gets Fletter. Good coordination by leaving Among. And like you can see, right, like the Hunters can go toe-to-toe with the Dragons playing this comp. It's by no means one team has a big advantage. It's really who pops off at the moment. And that's why it really makes me question why the Hunters didn't force this Wrecking Ball a little bit more in the mirror. Or just like even play the mirror. Like, I feel like they just comp diff themselves a little bit. So the Hunters get the control and the Dragons should have to back off from this. I don't know why Lee Jae-gon went to Lucio. I guess they switched to the Tracer. So Mirror in Space went on Plat Chat and they talked about Moth's impact in the game. It seems like he's an experienced shotgun and everyone thinks he is. Yeah, and I think you can definitely say that, but it's hard to tangibly put that into a way unless you hear it from the players themselves, so. I just don't like making assumptions. Sorry, let me just pause because I know this is a tangent. I don't like making assumptions about coaching, about players, about calling, about all those kind of things. I like to focus on the things that we see in game because there is proof to that, right? Everything else is just assumptions. And because you know why I don't do that? Because when I was a player and you know, our team was going 0-7, right? A lot of people made a lot of assumptions about our team that just weren't true and were just wrong. And a lot of these different things. And I think that's really bad when people just take assumptions and try and run it as fact. All right, so here we go. So you got the mines out. Dragons get in, they use the beat. The hunters have a big advantage right here. The beat is quite good. Flooded dies? Oh, I remember this actually. I remember what happened. Sag. Return to sender, baby. Big EMP by Lip. Isolates Yveltal and Late Young. Leave gets Fate. Lee J Gun gets got. Nano Void kills Jinmu. Nano Void is a problem. They need to kill Izayaki. Yeah, they need to get on top of Izayaki. Good kill on Izayaki. Void gets bomb, which is enormous. Fleta gets Late Young. How do they win this? They get the isolation on the leave. Mug gets Fate. They're going. This is so back and forth. Good boop onto Doomfist. Jinmu punches Lip. Oh, great die. Woo, clean. It's interesting how cyclic Lee Jae-gon plays. Like, I don't know if that's a word, but like you can tell that he goes in, uses his boop, uses his wall ride, and then leaves, right? And then he comes back like 3 seconds later, and then he goes back, and then he does something like, he's not just running in and staying in, he's going back and forth. And that's why he's so hard to punish, right? Like, he hasn't even got close to getting punished. He has another beat. Holy fuck, Lee Jae-gon is doing so much work. Okay. Cyclic? Alright. Cyclic? Interesting. Lee Jae-gon is so good. I don't care about the Lee Jae throw. As I said, like, Lee Jae-gon is still one of the best main supports and one of the best Lucios we have in the league. He's definitely had a couple of turbo feed moments, but for the most part, is Faye gonna go Reinhardt?
Capture the objective.
No. Alright, so we're gonna see Jinmu go Pharah.
Thanks for the assist.
Cyclic is what I learned in chemistry as an American. Who's better on Lucio than him? Funny Astro. I would say FD God, but FD God's been kind of like feeding more than he did last year. But I think Funny Astro is incredible. But I think it's kind of hard to say Funny Astro because we haven't seen him play in like a year. You know what I mean? Like he's obviously played a little. Oh wow, murdered. Moth has a very different style. I think Moth has a lot less impact on Lucio. I like Moth Lucio, but I think he has a lot less impact.
I will not waste this opportunity. You should be a
Yeah, like, I don't think I've ever watched a game where Moth plays and been like, wow, Moth is feeding. Fleta gets Among, so they isolate Among. Oh, this is actually funny. If you missed that show, Fleta gets booped off by Jinmu, but he doesn't have his boosters. How close was he to his boosters? He was 1 second away from his boosters. And so he just gets booped off the map. Tragic. Leave gets Lee J going with a pulse bomb. That's enormous. Yveltal's gonna live. Just great play by Yveltal. What are you looking for? Alright, Jimmy's kind of owning. We don't speak of Violet, Lucia. Dude, Jinmu's ability to stay in the air as far is like impressive. I just don't know how to do it. I just fall like a stone out of the air. And this is like Hunter's bread and butter, right? They're so good at this Pharah.
Thanks for the assist.
No, Echo just murders it, Monk. And that's the weakness of playing the Ana with the Pharah, is that you can't protect both the Ana and the Pharah at the same time. Like, you see, Yveltal goes to res Monk, and because he reses Monk, Jinmu gets isolated and dies, right? So, you gotta pick your poison on how you want to go down, but the Hunters get it to 99%, right? Don't worry, the Hunters are gonna come back. Right? Right? Guys? They're gonna touch the point, right, guys? Totally right, look at the ult. So Jinmu Barrage is gonna be really hard. Like, Barrage is just impossible to get value of against this composition from the Dragons. It's like a press Q to die kind of thing, and I think Jinmu realized that. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes into a small room and tries to, like, murder one person. Oh, Yveltal. And I just feel like this goes back to what we were talking about with, I feel like the Hunters really struggle to string it together, like get their Wrecking Ball Tracer on the backline. That was not a bad one, but yeah, they just get punished for it. Oh, Fleta goes down. This was actually almost a throw. Look at this play by Fleta. So Fleta goes in here and then throws that out and gets stuck. That was so greedy to go for that. He dies, Void gets low, Fate gets punished. Hunters almost come back into this, right? Like, they have an advantage. Void gets hacked, like, this is, like, ideal. DJ Gun's gonna get punished. They just don't get that punish onto Lee J Gun. If they get Void and Lee J Gun, and then somehow... How does Yveltal and Among die? Among? Yveltal gets beamed by Fleta. Amon gets burned down by her lip. I honestly think this is Fleta just turning it around. Like, he kind of turbo fed, but then he comes back around, gets the echo copy out, and just does such a good job of bringing it back. And now it's so bad for the Hunters because they don't really have any ultimates. Why Lucio? I don't know why Yveltal switched to Lucio. I think it's fine, but... Because Jinmu switched to the Sombra, but I would much prefer to have seen him switch to the Brig. But... Here we go, last fight territory. Among jumps onto the point, mines and mines. Among gets forced away by all the mines, gets quite low. But don't worry, Hunters are doing it. They get the counter dive. They actually managed to counter dive Yveltal very well. Fate gets booped off the map. They live through this Diva Bomb, they're gonna win, right? Yeah, they'll win. Jinmu will touch the point. Jinmu will touch the... Jinmu...
Beacon.
Victory.
Let's see if they were gonna win this fight. Let's take stock of where we are. The supports are good. They almost have EMP. Fled is hacked. Lee Jae-gon's in Valk though. How much longer does Lee Jae-gon have Valk for? He's got a full Valk, so they're in a good spot. Lip has Pulse Bomb. Lei Young has a Diva Bomb as well. This could still go either way. I think this is close. Where's Izzyaki? Izzy's in a pretty good spot. Yeah. I don't know if Chengdu win this. It will be close. I think this could go easy either way. It would come down to how good Jinmu's EMP is and how many people they can isolate. Yeah, like how alive is Leave? Hello? I don't... Okay. Leave is pretty alive. Oh, Leave's probably dead, actually. Leave doesn't know. Actually, Leave's dead. I actually think Hunters are going to lose this. So, even if they touch, I think Hunters are probably going to lose. Leaves in spawn smile, yeah. Then this, yeah. Yeah, it just feels bad. Oh, there's a Charlie Niner. There's a Charlie Niner. Ugh. Yikes. What are my takeaways from this grand finals? The Hunters played it way closer than to the Dragons in the last time that they played it. They went to map 5. They played a lot of similar maps as well, right? They played Ilios, they played Anubis, they played Eichenwalde. I think the Hunters sort of like Dragons threw these like Winston, Lucio, Reaper comps at them, and I just think Hunters reacted very poorly. I think if they had tried to stick to their guns or even tried to mirror the Winston at certain times, it'd be good. But the Dragons did something different, and Hunters just refused to adapt. I don't know why they tried to play like the Torb on Route 66 and then sort of like didn't switch off of it. It didn't feel like they understood the win conditions of their comps. So, but you can't take away from the Hunters. The Hunters look very good. Not just at these Wrecking Ball comps, but a lot of different comps. I just think they don't react very well when they're compositions. But individually and teamwork, they look very good. The best Hunters we've ever seen. I think they're pretty safely, in my opinion, number 2 in the East. Until we see more from Seoul or Philly and they improve, I think they're number 2. But Dragons is just the best team in the world. You can't say otherwise. They can play a lot of different things. Their players are so talented. They seem to have great coaching. They seem to do good reactions. Nothing about the Shanghai Dragons right now makes me feel like they're going to lose the Countdown Cup. We'll see what hero bands come out from this and how that's going to affect both regions and both of these teams. But we'll see. I hope you guys found this interesting. I'm not going to go back and watch the other Hunters vs Dragons game as much as it was entertaining. I don't think there's much to be gained from watching that. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.